So our next presenter is David Meaney. I've got his resume here beside me. David has been a PGA member since 2006. He's worked in Ireland, England and Germany in the recent years and is now head professional at Golf Club Lauterhofen in southern Germany. He's recently completed his master, his MProf at UCLan, University of Central Lancashire, and he is a PGA Advanced member. His presentation today is certainly based on some of his university learning, PCDEs he'll explain more of, but please welcome to GOLFx, David Meaney. Over to you, David.
Thanks very much, Ian. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today, and I'd like to say thanks to Ian and Michael for setting this up and giving me the opportunity. Hope you guys had a nice weekend over Halloween. I must apologise for my cold. I struck down with the man flu, but I'll battle through it. So, as you can see from the slide, I'm going to talk about appropriately developing PCDs in young golfers. And before we get started, I just want to recognise the work of Dave Collins and Anya McNamara, and also the support of Andy Cruikshank. Okay, so just going to breeze through what I'm going to talk about today is PCDs and why you would consider them for your coaching practice. Also, how you could, an example of how I brought PCDs into a coaching practice. A little word on parents, as they're pretty important to youth development, and a conclusion, a take-home message. So, I thought this quote was pretty relevant for the presentation today. Arnold Palmer outlining the importance of strength in mind and character. So let's get talking about them characteristics straight away. So PCDEs, psychological characteristics of developing excellence. Michael, do you want to send out that poll question?
Yeah, we'll do it now for you, David. There you are. It's ready to run. So we will give about 30 seconds to this.
Can I talk over this?
Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so as you see from the slide, there are 9 PCDEs, so specific mental skills. And what's very important about these 9 PCDEs is that they are age and stage specific. So what that means is that each of these PCDEs will look different to different golfers at different ages and different stages in their career. So this is the part that makes it appropriate to the young golfer. So for example, if I was to target quality practice would look different to a 10-year-old than it would to a 17-year-old, and also at different sort of developmental stages within their career. Quality practice. Another one would be realistic performance evaluation. So realistically evaluating performance, say through a technical change or in practice evaluating performance targets or technical development. So that's how you can make each of these mental skills age and stage specific. Another important point to make about these PCDs is that they're all interrelated. And what I found from the study that I'd done was it's kind of hard to target one PCD without like introducing one, maybe 2 more. So an example of this, commitment. I was working with one golfer. Goal setting was very heavily involved for motivational purposes, but that was very, very heavily involved there. As a matter of fact, goal setting was involved with all the participants in my study. Another quick example, one participant worked on focus on distraction control, and there was certain degree of imagery included there, as in visualizing sort of relevant sort of cues within short game. So that's basically a brief overview of what PCDs are, psychological characteristics of development excellence. And since we're on the topic of mental skills, I thought it was pretty important to address 2 popular mental skills. One of them has already been mentioned today, and that's a growth mindset by Carl Dweck. And as you can see on the left, growth mindset, right is fixed. Gives you a brief outline of what both these mental skills are. However, I'd like you to think of these mental skills as more outcomes as opposed to process-based. The only suggestion Carl Dweck made was praising effort as opposed to praising results. So how can PCDs help here? So if you take the first 2 sentences under a fixed mindset, I'm either good at it or I'm not. And when I'm frustrated, I give up. So the first one being my talents are fixed and there's nothing I can do about it. When I'm frustrated, I give up. So commitment levels are not that great. So if you targeted commitment, introduce a bit of goal setting, or quality practice, and obviously a bit of goal setting in there. And over a period of time, as a coach, you would work on these 3 PCDs, record your young golfer's development, and you showed your young golfer, okay, look, you have improved this much over this period of time. that should give them the belief that, yeah, okay, wait a minute, if I work on the right things, I can improve my talents. And that it's not necessarily all of a sudden they have a growth mindset, but it can build towards that attitude. So that's one way how PCDs can help there towards bringing about a growth mindset. Another popular mental skill out there is grit by Angela Duckworth. Now, I don't think grit alone sort of hits the nail on the head. It's not. I don't think grit alone is that good. Like there was an article I read there quite a while back about the opposite to grit being thinking and asking questions. I wouldn't consider these to be opposites. I'd say they should be important elements towards grit, because grit can be misdirected. So bringing that into a golfing context, parent reads these books and they put 2 and 2 together and they hear about the top professionals beating balls in the range for ages, and they encourage this behavior in their young golfer. And all of a sudden the young golfer's gone from half an hour to 2 hours of beating golf balls. However, without the depth of looking at how is he spending his time on the driving range, you can also encourage and reinforce poor practice habits. So I don't think grit alone is the answer, and that's how PCDs can help avoid these pitfalls. You could target the same PCDs from growth mindset: commitment, so they're spending more time in practice; quality of practice, so the time that they're spending there is worthwhile; and goal setting over a period of time. So that's how PCDs can help avoid them pitfalls of grit. So I'm just going to build a little bit further on the rationale behind PCDs with a little bit more support and evidence. And as you can see down the bottom there, the Rocky Road concept by Collins, McNamara, and more recently McCarthy. The general message from this is that the pathway of development is you're always going to be faced with challenges. And the main message from this Rocky Road concept is it's not so much the challenges that make the athlete, it's more the mental skills that they bring into these challenges. So they see these challenges, learn from moments. So yeah, it's not so much the traumas or the challenges, it's the mental skills. So in summary, yeah, expect these challenges along the way, equip your golfer with the mental skills to deal with these challenges. So as a golf coach, try to have a bit of foresight. Obviously you can't account for everything, but there are certain things that you can account for. And I'm going to go through some of them now. So the first one being the sampling years to the specialization years. So Bloom and Cote identified deliberate practice and commitment levels will have to increase through this transition phase. I would guess that if a golfer's quality practice and commitment didn't increase through this phase, their performance would reflect that. And if they're not keeping up with their peers, that could be a cause for dropout. So yeah, that's another advantage of PCDs, is that they can keep golfers in golf longer. So yeah, increasing the levels of those. I listened to a podcast not so long ago with Stuart Morgan. It was a very, very good podcast about skill regression. Yeah, and I was thinking, how could PCDs help there? So he talked about kids going through growth spurts where the coordination was a little bit lost. So you could see this as an opportunity to develop other mental skills. So performance levels will obviously drop because of coordinational problems, and it's going to be frustrating for this golfer on the golf course. So you could target coping with pressure, so dealing with frustrating times on the golf course, build a strategy for that, and then maybe later in the golfer's career, which you're expected to have, they'll have a strategy to deal with frustrating times on the golf course as opposed to shying away from the golf course. So a little bit later in a golfer's career, when the skills, the technique, what they've developed are established. So Howie Carson did some great research on technical change or technical refinement. So he identified 3 PCDs that were very helpful to the process of technical change. One being realistic evaluations, imagery, and commitment. They found by having these 3 PCDs, it made the process of technical change much more manageable for golfers who didn't possess high levels of these PCDs. The technical change was unsuccessful or made it much more difficult. And one more final transition period. So going from amateur to professional, I think Yusi's tuned in today. This is from his master's thesis, and he did outline some social factors and financial factors, but I'm just going to concentrate on the psychological factors, and 2 stood out to me. One was a golfer identified as a long-term process as opposed to a singular event. So PCDs that could have helped there would have been realistic evaluations, within the transition phase, and goal setting. So what sort of targets do I need to hit over this transition phase that I have a chance of getting on tour and staying on tour? And depending how deep the coach and the player want to go with goal setting, you could also introduce the financial factors there. So hopefully I've made up a good case of why PCDs are important to young golfers and to consider for your coaching practice. So I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to move on how you can bring these into your coaching programs through champion behaviors. So how I got started. I did an interview first of all with the young golfer. As you can see there, between 45 and 60 minutes. Yes, the parents were there, but I'll talk about the parents a little bit later on. So the aims of the interview, just collecting information for your session planning. To target a golf-specific skill and to target a PCDE, we used the performance profile. I thought that was pretty helpful for decision making, and we also just had a brief discussion between ourselves of what was relevant for that golfer at that time. But the most important part about this interview was after you've targeted a PCD, it's very important that you define it as an observable and measurable behavior. And the reason for this is that everyone's clear on what they're supposed to be doing. So the golfer's clear on the behaviors they are meant to perform that represents that PCD, and you as a golf coach and a supporting parent can see that the golfer is performing these behaviors and you can measure it. So that's a very, very important part to this whole process, is that you define it as a observable and measurable behavior. And one final point is try and encourage that your golfer defines the behavior themselves, because if they can conceptualize the behavior, there's a greater chance of them actually performing that behavior and actually doing it a lot more often. So we use this here as an evaluation tool that we use throughout the whole program. You can. I use this on every session, so you can use it weekly just to get some feedback from the player of how well they think they're progressing, and you can actually give in your feedback as well. And it's a good way of evaluating how the program is progressing. Okay, so the reason I left this blank is because I'm going to talk about the PCD you guys voted for. So Michael, can I have that result now?
Absolutely. So the result was 43% voted for coping with pressure, 34% voted was focus and distraction control, and 23% in third place is commitment.
So coping with pressure then. Okay, So I'll go through the coaching system with coping with pressure. Okay, so this is basically planning your role. So you've got all the information to plan for your young golfer. Now you've got to plan your role. So you've got your PCE in the left column, and then your defined behavior. So in this case, it was maintaining positive body language in tough situations. So this golfer seemed to lose his temper when he hit bad shots and in difficult situations on the golf course. So the systems I put in place to encourage a positive body language routine. So the systems were clearly outlining what this looks like, outlining the golf-specific task, which was a short game task at that time. The task difficulty, I'd also look to make that a little bit more difficult than what he's used to, purely to simulate a tough situation. So really to test his patience. And then goal setting would be relative to the task difficulty as well. And then at the end of each task, there will be a debrief and feedback session. So my behaviors to encourage and reinforce the PCD is I would support the development of this positive body language routine, and the feedback which I would give would be all relative to this routine, and I'd also ask him questions to support reflection on how well he performed the routine. It should be Ian Carney's on after me, and he's going to talk about coaching behavior, so tune in for that one. That should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that one. So that's basically all the planning done. Now it's time to actually get into the session. So I borrowed this here from Dave Collins on Twitter. I thought it was a pretty catchy way of describing a typical session. But have a fat boy slim beat to it, teach, test, tweak, repeat. To go through this is I'm going to just relate each one of these golf balls back to your coaching role. So in a typical session, there would be outlining what's expected of your young golfer behaviorally and through the task, goal setting, and that'll be basically the teaching part of it. The test is let the golfer perform the task. As a golf coach, you're sort of standing back, observing, taking notes. I just take notes because I think the quality of feedback you can give to your young golfer is going to be a lot more accurate. So yeah, I was taking notes through it when I was observing the golfer go through their positive behavior routine. And then, as I said, from the coaching role, then there's a feedback and debrief session. So that will be, if there's tweaks needed in the beginning, yeah, there's always going to be a lot more tweaks needed to perform the behavior good. Goal setting, it's you constantly tweaking, but as the program progresses, the tweaking of the behavior will reduce, and then repeat. Just keep on repeating until you get good at it. It's a pretty simple way, a pretty catchy way of describing a typical session. So that's basically how you would bring PCD development into your coaching practice. So yeah, we can't forget about the parents. They're always going to be involved. So let's talk about why and how. So why is, and this is the most important part, is that there has to be a coherent message for the targeted PCD and the defined behavior. For that to be developed, the message that your young golfer is receiving has to be consistent, coherent. If he or she is getting mixed messages, yeah, what you've set out, what you've planned to develop will not be developed, basically. So yeah, it's pretty important that everybody's has a coherent message and they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. How? From experience, in the interview, I would have the parents there just listening, because I found that one young golfer, the parent got very involved, and I felt that the young golfer didn't really make the decisions that he should have made. So yeah, trying to reduce the parent involvement there. Within sessions, I would say for the first 2 sessions, let your young golfer get familiar and comfortable with the behavior routine or whatever behavior you're working on and the golfing task, and then I would introduce the parents to observe each session for a good while, maybe 3, 4, 5 sessions, just until they get it. So you're pointing out what the relevant cues, what's relevant, so what sort of feedback you're giving the young golfer, how the parent can give feedback to the young golfer, and what they should be looking for. And that's how I get the parents involved. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so just a quick conclusion, take-home message. Hopefully you build up a good case for a PCD development junior golf. Age and stage specific, very, very important. That's what makes it appropriate. That they should be defined as of clear and observable, measurable behavior. That's crucial. Nobody will know what's going on if it's not. And plan well using the coaching system. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'm looking forward to your questions. That's it.
Hi David, thank you for that.
How was that for timing?
We're well in advance. Loads of questions coming through for you, so I'll get started. Are you ready?
All right, go for it, man.
Could you take your slides back, David, to the second slide?
Second one.
Second one. It's that one. And the next one, sorry, number 3.
This one here.
That's it. Yeah, Yoda. There you go. No, one back, sir.
Yoda.
That's it. So for laymen like me, these PCDEs, these are psychological skills that the academics have identified that all top sportsmen have. Is that the baseline of your argument, your discussion?
As differentiators, yeah.
Yeah, without doubt.
They can make the difference, definitely.
They can make a difference, good. So with your experience as being a layman coach like myself and also now an academic, what kind of time frame are you looking at to develop, let's say, coping with pressure within a young player? Let's say the player's 13 years old and he looks good in the range but he's not getting the scores he should do. How long would be a typical training course in dealing with pressure, coping with pressure? How does that process go? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, because in the thesis that I was doing, that was a 6-week program. And I also mentioned in it that it was nowhere near enough time. If coping with pressure, it depends on the golfer. And right. Another point I made in the thesis is that if I was going to do that again and do it differently, I would make sure they were I would observe in tournament conditions.
Okay, so yeah, of course.
But back to the question of how long it would take, it depends on the golfer's development and what stage they're at.
Right, but certainly that'd be a minimum of a 6 week. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 week was. I thought it was way too little amount of time. You could work on these PCDs for years. Like they're all interchangeable, and you can say like say for example, let me think now. Which one was it? So which one was it? There was focus and distraction control. That turned into, so we worked on focus and distraction control with one golfer, and towards the end of it, that golfer started talking about quality practice.
Okay.
So how to improve our practice as well. So you could sort of start by working on focus and distraction control.
Yeah.
Obviously develop that over a period of time. I wouldn't leave it and jump from one to the other. I expect that you can go for working on that for a period of time, and then bring that focus and distraction control then into quality practice.
Okay. So if we go back to
continue. Go ahead.
So just to bring that back to the issue of the parents, like for myself and colleagues tuning in, that we're not experts in PCDEs. How do you get that message across to parents? That first session, the balance of technical content and, let's say, I'm going to say psychological content, with us not being psychologists. How do we bridge that gap to the parent? How do we get a message across effectively? This is a big part of the game, as well as the playing the game and what have you. How do you sell that to the parents, as it were? How do you get the message across?
Well, it was in the interview phase that we spoke about it the most, and that's why we targeted the golf-specific skill first. And we said, okay, the things you need to do to make this skill better, and then, like I said, we came back to commitment. So in commitment, this guy said that he doesn't concentrate that well in practice. He should concentrate longer or maintain concentration in practice. And we said by maintaining concentration in practice longer, you're getting better quality out of your practice. And then by doing that, you're then developing your short game skills. So you're always trying to link it back to the development of their golf skills.
Good. And go back to Andy Gordon mentioned before about changing your language. How many chameleons do you play, varying between your students? How many different kind of hats do you wear to get a message to like a 10-year-old and then to an adult with similar issues?
With the adults, I'd be a little bit more direct about it. With the kids, it's like a background program where you're setting up the task. They know they're working on commitment, but you're just expecting them to stick with a task. You're putting the emphasis more on the task, but you're motivating the PCD. It's like a background program where with adults I'd be a little bit more direct, explicit.
Okay.
With kids, it's just maybe putting the emphasis on the task, so they're having the fun and they're practicing it, but you're also then trying to encourage and reinforce the commitment that's involved in it.
Okay. And how's your split, David, between, let's say, classic golf coaching and the development of these psychological characteristics? How do you, say if you're teaching 40 hours a week, what's your your split between technical coaching and psychological coaching, let's say PCDE coaching?
I actually found, since I've done the improv, that talking about these PCDs in all my lessons, there's some sort of element involved there. I'm a very big believer that if you're thinking about the relevant things, you have a better chance of learning them things. So, like encouraging, say, a routine where they're imagining, I don't know, ground contact in the right area, or say, for example, going through a technical change that they're finding a little bit difficult now. So realistic performance evaluation, we say, okay, we can say at the moment it could be difficult on the golf course, but let's keep going with this process. So they have realistic performance evaluations. To some extent, they'll come into every lesson I do now.
Okay, every lesson, yep, cool. Sean James, hi Sean. He asks, at what age would you start introducing psychological development programs?
Well, I've been trying to encourage this in my junior program from, see, it depends if it's individualized. This is individualized coaching, and I wouldn't expect an individual junior to come for lessons like that. I'd say after 9-10 years of age, and the others in group lessons. But I do try integrating into my group lessons. That's something I want to talk about today, but it was cut for time. They're in my group lessons at 5 years of age, 6 years of age. I don't know how aware they are of it, but they are there.
Right. So what kind of messages do you have those for the kids at that age so they get the message on their wavelength? What are your special tricks for them getting the messages?
Well, I've set up the coaching program in such a way that every Sunday before I started here in the first year, they were just cultured into training on every Sunday. Basically, every Sunday was coaching, and there was no junior sessions, no junior tournaments or stuff, or getting on a golf course. So just basically every week Sunday lessons. So I've changed that around now, where I've kind of targeted quality practice and realistic performance evaluations, where 4 weeks they will train, and then 1 week they'll go on the golf course, and then for the small kids we go on the small golf course, and I'll get them to think about, okay, what did you do well in the golf course, and what do you want to practice to get better at? So just basically, obviously the tone of language I'm using would be for a small kid, but that'll be the questions that I'll try to get across, get them thinking about what do you want to improve.
Okay, good.
From
Scott Spence coming from Sydney. Sorry, Dave. Hi, Scott. Scott's asked, how difficult is it trying to convince the parents that PCDs are the correct method and not the old traditional way of just digging it out?
It's not so much a correct method, it's just it's an added ingredient. It's something to add a bit more value to the development of skill. It's like I said, if your levels of commitment increase and your quality practice increases, that's going to help. And if you don't do these things, it doesn't really matter how technically good you are. If you don't have the commitment to develop your skills, then you won't get very far.
Good, good. And again, from Scott's question, how much resistance have you had from parents with your introduction of the PCDE program? Has it been welcomed all round?
From the individual lessons that I did, that was fine. The parents were very, very supportive there.
Yep.
With the group lessons on the Sundays, I think our communication with the parents at this club is pretty poor, so I haven't really got too much feedback from the parents there. That's something I'm looking to improve over the next couple of years.
Great, great. I've got a question for you, going a little bit off track. You've just finished your 3 years at UCLan, is that right?
Yeah, 2 with a half-year break, so 2.5, yeah.
Perfect. How do you see golf coaching now differently than before you started your master's degree at UCLan? What's changed for you in golf coaching?
It's becoming more about the person. It's becoming more about you're taking more factors into account from the person, so their emotions, what sort of skill set they are, their goal, what they want out of lessons. So from the last presentation, asking your player what they want to get out of these lessons, I think it's becoming a lot more about the person, as opposed to someone showing up to a golf lesson, whipping out all your training aids and then just standing there and going, that was good and that was shit. It's a little bit more personal.
More person focused.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, David Meaney, thank you for joining us this morning on GOLFx, the psychological characteristics of developing excellent PCDEs. I think Michael Abbott will open the lines now for the survey from the delegates on your presentation. And again, thank you for all your efforts these last few weeks and coming along this morning.
Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.